Thank you for joining the Road to Redemption podcast, where every Wednesday, I, your host, Cam Williamson, will bring you lessons through my life and my week to help you deal with today's modern mental health struggles. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. I am, as always, your host, Cam Williamson, and today we start the real new Road to Redemption podcast, where I'm giving you lessons each week in a certain subject. So as you can probably read by the title of this one, we're going to talk about hypochondria, or being a hypochondriac. I want to start with, I am not a medical professional. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a guy who has done 8 years in the military. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I've come through the recovery program of alcoholism. I currently use cannabis for mental health issues like PTSD, bipolar disorder, stuff like that. A lot of things, anxiety, severe anxiety. But where does a lot of it stem from, right? We have to get to the bottom of those things. So for me, I think it's important to mention my meditation practice is very important to me. And through my meditation practice, which has been increasing a lot lately, I'm finding more where a lot of my fear, anxiety, even social anxiety, where a lot of my doubt, my insecurity, all the real negative emotions that I feel, I'm finding that a lot of them come from something that my family has always joked about. I've always joked about. People have kind of always poked fun at me for it. It was a big cause of my drinking. It was a big cause of my difficulty to stop drinking and to stop using substances and things. And it's hypochondria. So just a little bit of backstory into where I think some of this may be coming from. When I was a young lad, I spent, I don't remember how long, a couple weeks, possibly a couple months, in a hospital. I ultimately had strep throat, and the infection had spread throughout my body and had actually settled in my ankles, or had revealed itself in pain and inflammation in my feet and in my ankles that had revealed to the doctors that I had essentially a strep throat that had spread throughout my body and was attacking my body, essentially. They thought at the time that I had multiple different diseases. They called it cancers. They thought I had blood cancer. Somewhere in my family line, the story was told that they thought I had bone cancer. So all these things, right? I've always grown up. I knew I was in the hospital. I have never seen the medical records. I don't even know if I could get a hold of those. Be interesting to find out. So all my life, I never really knew. I just knew that I was in the hospital for more than a usual amount of time for just like an emergency situation. I was there for an extended period of time while they were checking things out. So I don't know what that did because I don't remember it. The only memory I have of that incident was one moment of, I think they had periodically, but for short spouts, let me out of my bed so I could lay with my dad on the floor and watch TV and stuff. That's one of the best memories I have with my pops. So that's really the only memory I have of that situation at all. So other than people telling me and apparently playing telephone and getting it wrong, or my brain messing it up over the years, I have always dealt with this crippling fear of how fragile I am physically. That I am destined to have some sort of disease, especially with my heart. My anxiety leads me to believe all the time that I'm going to have a stroke, a heart attack, and any kind of medical training I've got doesn't help with that, because it's just like having a full-time Google in your brain. So hypochondria is something that's led to a lot of my struggles in life. So saying all that, like it said, it turned out, even to this day, as I know, I had strep throat. It had spread through my blood, and I got some random disease from, however strep throat can settle in your ankles and attack your body, it did. So, anywho, with that, I am one of those people that I don't get sick often. I don't. Even during the year, like right now, I'm congested because the fall just really came in here. But I don't get sick often. Every single time I get a medical checkup, they tell me, dude, you're good. Like, you're a healthy guy, man. Watch your diet, as always. But I love sugar, and I like soda, and I like stuff that's bad for me and that gets my system rocking. I'm learning to deal with some of that in my older age. So where does it come from, right? Every single time I'm afraid to walk out my door and face the day, it's not because I think that I'm going to have a stroke. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it very much is that feeling and that thought, right? I'm learning that there are things you can do to eliminate those thoughts and to really gain back control of your life in many ways. Substances get used a lot to manage hypochondria. The person who uses the substance feels rationalized in doing it because it literally eases a pain that feels like you're fighting death. So, again, this is where I want to start the whole conversation with defeating hypochondria. Number one, stop all judgment, right? If you're watching this, then I'm going to assume you're not a medical doctor, right? If you're a medical doctor and you're watching this, you're probably only watching to hear my accuracy, which, if that's the case, I feel bad for you. Get your notebook and pencil out because I'm sure there's going to be a list. But if there is, leave it in the comments. Lose all judgment. Most times, sorry, my mouth is really dry. Most times when we are hypochondriacs, we are also overanalyzers mentally. So with being a overanalyzer, no matter how deep your spiritual practices are, like meditation or whatever, overanalyzers are essentially overjudgers. You're constantly judging things. Good, bad. Good, bad, good, bad. Most of that, for me, comes from I didn't have much structure in my upbringing. So I was acting on impulse and desire and humanly ego type things, right? So that leads to a difficult upbringing when you base your really not acting on any kind of future, but when you're acting day by day to YOLO or whatever, you're sending messages to your body into the world. Hey, this vessel doesn't care about this thing. They have no problem tearing it to shit, and when it goes, they're going to be okay with that because YOLO, that's what they keep screaming, right? Okay. So then we take the substance, we go out, we drink all night or whatever. The next morning you wake up and your head hurts and you have chest pains and your arm feels funny. You don't know why your arm feels funny, but chest pains and arm feeling funny, man, that's not a good sign. And now we're here. And we're locked in here and we start overanalyzing and going into physical overanalysis, which is chest pain or sensation in chest equals chest pain equals bad. Why does chest pain in this situation or chest sensation in this situation equal bad? Well, you know what you just did for the last however many hours. Now it's rationalized. So you have a reason to believe why that could be happening to you. Okay. So you have to start, number one, losing judgment of all things in the way of saying good or bad, because one, you're not a trained professional. You don't know. You're not hooked up to a machine that's telling you. So if you are in a state where you think you may be in a medical emergency, I'm not telling you to not seek medical attention. I absolutely would always recommend that. My thing is, we, as I'm only speaking as self-admitted hypochondriacs, I used to admit myself into the hospital constantly. because I would go out drinking all night long. I would feel like dog crap because I would overdrink. And then I would have to start drinking again to stop feeling like dog crap. And then I would do this for days, and then days turn to weeks turn to months turn to years. Now I have a physical dependency that I'm dealing with. Now my hypochondria is not hypochondria. It's rationalized fear that I'm choosing to do nothing about. So what do we do in that situation, right? You know where you're at. I talk all the time about self-assessment and understanding where you're at. No judgments, okay? Damn, here's where I've gotten myself. This is where I'm at. Lord knows I've had this conversation with myself 100 times in life. We're trying some things out with the lighting. I apologize if I'm super dark right now. So now that you know where you're at, my dog is over there freaking itching herself. Hopefully you guys can't hear all this craziness going on in my house. If you know where you're at, and you know, so we could use this as an example, right? Real time. My dog is over here. Me and her have already had a complicated relationship today. She, all night long, was standing up, running to the end of my bed, and then like kind of halfway turning around out the door. Guys, the level of fury inside of me, because I haven't been sleeping well, to be woken up to this was immense. I was ready to open the door, open every gate I have, and let her pick her direction. So, right now, and I remember I hadn't had my meditation session this morning, obviously. I had my meditation session. I went back, showed her a bunch of love. You know, she didn't deserve for me to feel all those types of ways for her. I don't know what her deal was. She didn't want to go outside. I don't know what her problem was. So now her sitting there itching and doing the whole thing. I'm snapping at her, telling her to stop. She's just completely disregarding me. So what happens? Stress, because I am a high-temper person. That is true. My egoic side of me, my human side of me, which is very real, and it presents itself a lot into my current moments. It feels overwhelming like anger. But what do I do now? I sit and I'm just aware of those things. And I'm like, that made me really mad. Why did I get so mad about that? Why do I care so much that my dog is itching while I'm recording? Well, I care a lot about the podcast. So then my thoughts go to, well, go figure. That's the way it works for me, because I'm trying to do something I care about and they're going to, again, interrupt me. So then I'm turning into what? A victim. Victim mentality. So now I'm rationalized because, oh, woe is me, that I should feel this way. Then your chest starts to feel kind of tight because physically you have adrenaline running. Your body is changing now. So what do? You choose in that moment. Do I want to continue to be angry for this reason that doesn't make sense? Or once we've gotten all the way down to the chest pain and go, okay, here's where I'm at. I'm angry, therefore I'm having these sensations. Am I probably having a heart attack? No judgments. I don't know. Man, just saying I don't know, it feels better, because I don't know is a lot better than I am, right? So number 3, you're not the jury, you're not the executioner, you're not a doctor, you don't know. Let's move right on into number 4. Don't go to Google to find out. Y'all knew that was coming, huh? Can't believe it made it all the way to the number it did. I think it was 4. Don't Google your symptoms. It's 2020. The internet's been around for long enough. Don't Google your symptoms. That's a pretty easy one. I'm going to go and say this one's number 5. Realize the difference between a thought and a fact. Ron White, one of my favorite comedians, said one of the truest statements ever in one of his comedy routines, which was, sometimes you can have a thought and just let it go. Like, right? That doesn't just apply to having idiotic thoughts. Guess what? A self-deprecating putting on yourself that you're having this disease or bad ailment happening to you currently, guess what that is? That's idiotic. You're a human being meant to do something, right? If you're not meant to do anything, whatever this is that runs all of this is gonna cut it off. Because it has energy that it needs to be used wherever. Now, that's me assuming. Hypochondria is a real thing, but hypochondria is just a pattern of thinking. Allow yourself to understand the fact that you don't know. You're not a medical professional. If you think you need medical help, go get it. Get the medical clearance so that way when you go to your next meditation session and you have sensations throughout your body, you can go, well, I know it's not cancer. I just got a screen, right? It might be my chest is getting painful or tight because I had a crap breakfast. The doctor told me I have high cholesterol. Damn, I should have ate an apple, right? I know where I'm at, though. If you find yourself in the loop where you just can't seem to get out of this, nope, I know it, I know because I have no medical degree, and I'm going to try to adjust this mic. This is always problematic every time I try to do this. I'm going to end up freaking holding it. If you've just solidly, nothing you could do about it, convinced yourself that you have a disease, it's going to be the thing right at this moment. And guys, no judgment. I've been here 100 times in my life before where I remember this moment as well, which this just made a connection. I don't know why my mouth's so dry. I haven't eaten yet today. I remember when I was like 13 years old, I was having an anxiety attack in bed. And I remember it was just after a moment where I was supposed to talk to my dad on the phone. And I don't remember if he didn't answer or if the talk just didn't go well. Whatever the issue was, I went to bed really anxious and really upset. And I don't know why I remembered the Jay Leno show was on. And I remember laying in bed, and I laid like someone would in a coffin. And I was so aware of all the sensations in my body, and none of them felt good because my emotions didn't feel good and my present didn't feel good. But I wasn't able to disconnect from that. And I laid in bed as a 13-year-old weirdo, laying in bed with the twilight of the Jay Leno show on, going, tonight's the night, my life is going to end, and I'm okay with that. And I fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning, and I didn't even really remember that whole sequence of events. It was like almost like a faint memory at that point. But I remember in that next morning going, I don't ever want to do that again. Like, I don't know what that was. I don't know where that mindset was, but I'm interested to know if that was my first real bout of depression and anxiety. Because any other times in my life that I get to feeling abandoned or unappreciated or any feelings of lack or inaccuracy or inadequacy, hypochondria and feeling of inevitable doom is usually not too far behind. So, guys, it stems from things, right? And then this is where we come to substance use. For years, I tried to kill hypochondria with drinking because when I drank, I just felt drunk, which really doesn't feel like anything, and that's okay with me. That was the main purpose in dealing with the emotional crap that I wasn't dealing with. So I've been 4 years sober now from alcohol, and then you have cannabis, right? You have psychoactive and you have non-psychoactive, whichever one you choose to use. I'm not judging. Cannabis balanced my life out, right? It made it to where I could be the best version of myself at the present moment sometimes. And throughout my relationship with cannabis, I've allowed that use to go up and get completely out of balance. And then sometimes now it's in a good place where it's used the way it should be used, and it's medication and only that. Understand that putting something on your mind, a substance of any sort, that's taking something away from the ultimate truth, right? Now, with a substance like cannabis, I believe you do use it to operate at a higher frequency, or maybe a more optimistic frequency, whatever the connection with the human being and that herb is. I just believe that's where it puts those that it benefits. But to walk around all day long in a state of synthetic, I guess I would have to call it synthetic because you had to put it in, but it's natural. It's a natural substance, obviously. So that's a terrible word for it. But to put in something that's not coming from within to fix a problem that is starting within, it's probably not the way to go, right? So once you realize that as well, okay, does that mean you have to never use cannabis again? No, you can use it properly, and you can use it ceremonially, if that's your way of doing it. Whatever. But if you're abusing something that shouldn't be abused, there are people that can drink, and they don't abuse it, and they use it properly to even them out and maybe thin their blood or whatever they're trying to do. Curb some of their fears so they can get on a stage and sing karaoke, whatever you're trying to do. Or maybe you're legitimately drinking so that way you don't feel this tightness in your chest from the day. Let me encourage you. I know how hard it is. Trust me, I've been there. I've sat at many a bar stool when I should have sat at a meditation mat. But I want to encourage you, only 20, 28, almost 29 years of life, I want to encourage you to find the meditation mat now. Because at the meditation mat, you will find those two instances I mentioned before from my past that I didn't think about, weren't a part of my daily life, weren't even a part of my conscious thinking. But through meditation, they were revealed back to me as moments that I recalled, realized they have nothing to do with me right now, and I was able to put those to bed. And now, through that meditation practice, I found what I think is my source of life and universal connection to whatever runs all this. I still don't know, no judgments. But I feel a strong connection to it telling me, Cam, there's a way to tell your story and there's a way to tell your struggles. But you have to be an extension of the source. You can't be an extension of the problem, right? An old way of doing things was giving valid, I don't know why I'm struggling with the word validation today. Giving validation to those who really don't need validation to feel like shit. So let's be the source. Let's take from the source of positivity and getting rid of this hypochondria and controlling your substances, but be a vessel of the source and put it back out. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. That's all I want to do in my life. If you look at my message from day one, that's all I've ever wanted to do. So I hope for those of you out there, whether you're just finding this channel because you're suffering from hypochondria, I hope this helped you, and it maybe just, I've heard the sound of my voice could be calming, as weird as that has been. If nothing else, maybe that's all it did. And my voice was a decibel level that lowered your heart rate. Maybe that's all I did. But if you found a new way of thinking through this, I appreciate you being here so much. I can't thank you enough for clicking, because you didn't have to. And I ask that you thumbs up and subscribe, because from going forward, when you see the Road to Redemption podcast, look at the topic. I'm going to go in depth into it as to how it's affected my life and how I'm working to move past those things. And like I said, right now, meditation is my biggest tool. going deep and being willing to sit in those moments. And when I have a very strong sensation in my chest or in my arms and go, you know what? What this moment is, it is. If I fall over dead right now from something I've convinced myself of from some knowledge I don't have, what good is that going to do me right now? Well, I'm still here, so I'm not going to worry about it. Maybe because I'm having sensations during meditation, it's healing. That's all I've ever heard, right? So if I've heard that, and that has some factualness, validity to it, then why choose to believe the things you don't know, right? That's it. Guys, I hope you'll thumbs up. I hope you'll subscribe. If you are suffering from hypochondria type thoughts, please feel free to reach out. I know what it is. Leave your questions in the comments, and we'll check you out in the next video. Love you guys very much. Thank you for checking this out. Thank you.